Just when you think hope is gone, God is quietly preparing the impossible. You've prayed, you've believed, you've held on tight, and yet, everything seems to slip through your fingers. The sickness didn't leave. The dream feels dead. The person you loved most is gone. That's exactly where Lazarus' story begins. A man Jesus loved dead, buried, for days in a tomb. And yet, God was not done. Sometimes life feels like God is late. We expect him to arrive on our schedule. And when he doesn't, doubt creeps in. Mary and Martha knew this feeling. They sent word to Jesus, saying, "Lord, the one you love is sick." They expected him to come immediately. But Jesus stayed where he was 2 more days. Faith is often tested not because God isn't able, but because he is preparing something greater. By the time Jesus arrived, Lazarus had already died. Death seemed final. Hope seemed gone. Martha met him at the gate and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Those words echo what many of us feel when God seems silent. We cry out, "Lord, you could have stopped this." Jesus didn't correct her frustration. He didn't chastise her doubt. He simply said, "Your brother will rise again." Martha assumed he meant in the distant future, but Jesus was speaking about now. Then he declared one of the boldest truths in Scripture. "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live." Not, "I can resurrect." Not, "I will resurrect one day." But, "I am the resurrection and the life." Life, even from death, flows through him. When Jesus approached the tomb, Scripture says, Jesus wept. God, in human flesh, stood before death and cried. This is not because he lacked power, but because love always feels pain. If you wonder whether God understands your grief, this moment answers it. He does. He sees. He feels. He is not distant. Then Jesus did the unexpected. He asked for the stone to be rolled away. Martha said, "Lord, by now there is a bad odor, for he has been in the tomb 4 days." This was the point where many miracles would stop. But Jesus was teaching a lesson. Before life can return, sometimes the tomb must be opened. Sometimes what blocks God's blessing must be removed. He prayed to the Father, not because he needed help, but so that all would know God's power and glory. And then he called, loud and clear, "Lazarus, come out." Death had no choice. The man who was dead walked out, still wrapped in grave clothes. For days dead, no pulse, no breath. Yet at Jesus' word, life returned. The story of Lazarus teaches us that delay does not mean denial. If Jesus had arrived earlier, it would have been a healing. But because he waited, it became a resurrection. Sometimes what we see as too late is actually God's perfect timing. Maybe you are standing in front of a situation that feels hopeless. A relationship, a dream, a calling, a season of life that seems dead. God is still at work. Graves do not intimidate him. Time does not limit him. Death does not stop him. The same voice that called Lazarus out is still speaking today. Jesus ended by commanding the people, "Unbind him and let him go." Life restored often requires letting go of what belonged to death. Old fears, old grief, old limitations. Resurrection is not just coming back to life. It's walking free. If you feel God is late, remember Lazarus. If you feel hopeless, remember the tomb. If you feel forgotten, Remember the voice that breaks silence, commands life, and brings the impossible back to reality. What is dead to you is not dead to God. Subscribe to Scripture Alive for more of these videos. God bless you.